Welcome to another episode of the Bobcast. It is an all-basketball edition here, our first of 2019, and we will begin with men's basketball, a 2-0 week last week in CAC play, a win over Mary Washington 87-77, and a win at St. Mary's 82-69. Here with head coach Sean Brown, and Coach, it feels like for this first half of the season, non-conference play, there's a lot going on, a new coaching staff, a bunch of new players, injuries to deal with. This past week, did we kind of get a snapshot of the potential of this group when everything starts to come together?
That was, excuse me, that was a perfect way to put it. I couldn't have stated it any better than you just did. That's a snapshot of what we think we could be moving forward. Yes, to answer your question.
How much more progress do you and your staff see that can still be made from your team, though, despite this nice, a nice 2-0 week that you put together?
Well, we, as I keep telling you, we watch a ton of film. There's still a whole lot that we need to clean up defensively as well as offensively. We're still trying to figure out our rotation. We, as you've seen in the last two games, we shortened our rotation quite a bit, and the media timeouts kind of we think that'll help us during the year. We weren't sure what kind of media timeouts they were going to be, whether they're going to be radio timeouts or TV timeouts. But we have the TV timeout, so we get a break.
Go ahead and sit down
every 4 minutes, and that changes the game. That changes the Division III game immensely. So yeah, we still try to figure some things out. Shore up the rotation, but more than anything, defensively, we still gotta stop getting beat off the dribble so much. We definitely gotta hold teams to one shot. We're giving up way too many offensive rebounds. We think we started to make some strides in less turnovers, and better and we're getting better shots. That was the key against St. Mary's. We got really good shots. We had guys who we wanted taking the shots, and we did a really solid job of defending the 3-point line and rebounding. So yes, we got that was a snapshot these two games, but we still have a lot of work ahead of us.
I want to start here with Mary Washington. The Eagles were picked number 2 in this conference. UMW knocked Frostburg out of the tournament last year.
Yes, sir.
Was there a difference? Did you notice a difference in focus and energy in terms of preparation or game day itself to finally be into CAC play and a familiar team right off the bat?
Absolutely, and I think I stated on the last Bobcast that we saw that team for a whole weekend. We watched them. We watched both of their games. They watched both of our games, and I'm not sure if they did or not, but I think they may have come in with a false sense of what our team really is. We were missing Lawrence. That same weekend where we played in the same tournament, we were missing Lawrence. We were missing Big Zach. Zach to injury. Lawrence to some personal things. I'm not ready to disclose right now, but so we were missing 40% of our starting lineup. So we knew once we get those guys back and we clean some things up, we figured we'd do a good job against Mary Washington because we've watched them twice. We watched tons of film on them, and we just thought that it'd be tough for them to match up with us.
Sure, and Mary Washington has a reputation as one of the best three-point shooting teams in the conference. They have a bunch of guys who are willing and have the green light to take and make three-point shots. What was the plan defensively to limit them, especially in that area, and how did your team execute?
Well, I think we executed that part of the game plan really well. We wanted to take away the three-point shot. We wanted to close out. We wanted to have someone contesting every single three-point shot. And they, if I remember correctly, don't quote me, but I think they went like 4 for 21 from 3.
Exactly.
And
yep.
We did a really good job of chasing them off the three-point line or contesting their threes. every time they shot it. Whereas that's one of the big point of emphasis in our program. Contest every shot. Have someone guarding a player every single time. Mismatches don't really beat teams. Open shots does, and second shots. So that was the, in a nutshell. That was the game plan to you know make them hit tough twos and hold them to one shot.
Did it surprise you that you kind of outdid Mary Washington at their own game, shooting 12 for 28 from three? That's a season best in three-point makes and percentage. And how much of that was really what Mary Washington was giving you with the zone they were showing?
Well, that was a really good question. Well, Mary Washington this year seems to be a zone team. It seems like that's kind of what they've committed to do. They don't. Some of their better players have graduated out of the program. They're a little young this year, but they're talented. They're very talented. But it looks like zone is what they've kind of committed to doing here moving forward. And they also watched us for a whole weekend struggle against the zone. So we knew we had to prepare for that 3-2. They played a wide 3-2. We knew we had to work the ball, move the ball, get the ball inside the paint, not settle for one pass shot, but we had to make the defense move. We had to get the ball inside, make them defend us in the paint. Put some fouls on their bigs. Then we go inside, kick it out for wide open threes. And we had a pretty good game plan offensively going in. We felt really comfortable that we were gonna get a lot of wide open shots. It was just up to our guys to make them. Our guys are in the gym. They're in the gym every single day, getting up shots, and they're turning into makers rather than just shooters.
Yeah.
And that feels good. And we give our guys the green light. We let them, we want them to play freely. If they see an open shot, we want them to take it. Especially if we get a paint touch and it comes back to the outside and they're wide open. We want you to take that shot.
Yeah, 4 different guys had at least 3 makes in that game. We talked about this a little bit post-game for Mary Washington. The second half, Frostburg extends its lead to double digits. Mary Washington, as good teams do, goes on its run. It cuts the lead down, and then FSU responds. 4 straight trips where your team scored. Your lead gets back to 11 in less than 2 minutes. Where did the calmness in those moments where the lead got as small as it was and then a big response from your team, where does that calmness come from?
This may sound cliche, but it starts at practice. I mean, we work on these situations all the time. Situational basketball. That's what it comes down to. The best teams on all levels, they can make plays when it's time to play situational basketball. You need to get a stop and a score, a stop and a score. And almost every big ball game, you're gonna have to get 2 or 3 stops and scores back to back to back to close out a game or to come back and win a game. And I think we've really bought into that. Again, we drill it at practice. We practice these situations, these moments, and our guys understand that basketball is a game of runs. When we go on a run, we don't just throw our hands up and say, "All right, okay, we quit now." Here we go. It's no. Basketball is a game of runs. We made our run. They made their run. Now, what are we going to do? When are we going to stop the bleeding and make our run? Because that's just the nature of the game. You're not going to shut a team down for 40 straight minutes.
No.
You're not going to go on a dry spell for the 40 straight minutes either. So what can we do? What can we do to control what we can control? Well, defensively, we can't make shots on offense, and they don't all go in. But we can give ultra effort on defense on the defensive end. We can talk more on defense. We can help each other out. We can hold teams to one shot and make that shot tough as I don't know what for them to put the ball in the hole. So those are the things that we can control. We get stops and we get a few scores, then we should we're always calm in those moments, or have been recently calm in those moments, and it's worked out for us. At St. Mary, same thing happened. They closed the gap. They cut the lead, I think, to like 6 or maybe even 4.
Yeah, down to 5. They scored the first 4 points of the second half.
Yeah, and we, our guys never panicked. We kind of regrouped, got ourselves together, started doing some of the things we did in the first half, and then some of the adjustments we made at halftime really made a big difference in that game.
Well, let's move on.
Yes,
Mary
sir.
Wash and St. Mary's. Just how much of a lift is it for your team? You kind of talked about this at halftime with Fielder. Just to have Zach Coleman out on the floor, how much is that just a lift for your entire team in terms of on the floor and also just morale, just excited to have him out there with you?
Well, a few things. I'm gonna start with the big thing. Zach changes how with Zach it changes how our team looks. It changes how our team plays. Um, he it's it's one of those things. Folks talk about the it factor or the intangibles. It's one of those things you can't really put your finger on. But he changes the game so much. It becomes everybody else plays their natural position. The game becomes so much easier for everyone else because he makes up for a lot of folks' mistakes, a lot of mistakes that's being made out there on the floor. He makes up for them. You put the film on, you see how many shots he changes. There's a few fouls he get. We don't really like some of the calls that he gets, but he's aggressive, he's physical, and he, oh my goodness, he just changes the game inside. We literally see guys drive in and will keep their dribble. They see Zach will turn right back around and dribble right back out of the paint. It's incredible to see. I mean, it's the weirdest thing, but he changes the game so much. This past week, first game he played 10 minutes. We made the decision not to play him in the second half, no matter what happens, win or lose. We were told we can bump his minutes up a little more second game, and we played him just under 20 minutes.
Yep.
I mean, heck, he had 8 rebounds and 3 blocks, and we counted on film that he changed another 6 or 7 shots. So, he's just he's a difference maker. He's a program.
Sure.
He's a program changer. I mean, this is nothing new. I'm not saying anything that you all don't already know. I mean, again, he was second in the country in block shots in 2016-17.
He's already the all-time career leader.
Absolutely, he's just piling them on now. He's everything else is extra now. He's excited to be back. The guys rally around him. You should see how they act. When Zach is in the building. He let alone now he's in the starting lineup. It's incredible. Our guys rally around him. They love the energy that Zach gives off. It's just awesome to have him back in the fold.
So we shift over to St. Mary's, an 82-69 win. Your team's off to a really fast start, a 12-2 spurt. You lead by as many in the first half. What allowed your team to get off to such a strong start on Saturday?
Well, we were very, very disciplined early on, I thought. And, that's something that we're preaching, being disciplined, being solid, playing defense without fouling, moving your feet, helping out on defense, going straight up, boxing out, holding teams to one shot, just kind of staying clean, playing a clean game and being disciplined. I think that early on that kind of that got us going. And, although we didn't hit all the shots that we took good shots. Played good defense. We talked on the floor offensively and defensively. And once the shots started dropping, we just kept getting stop after stop after stop. And it's demoralizing for another team to see.
This was a game where your team led for virtually the entire game. How did your team handle having a lead for the entire game?
Well, they handled it really well. Again, having our floor general back, Lawrence means so much to this team. Having him back, he made some really, really tough shots. Also made some really good decisions from start to finish. He may have played 40 minutes last game.
He did.
So it was tough to take him off the floor. And again, with the TV timeouts, that's a game changer.
Sure.
That changes the game. Some kids that traditionally needed to come out, and get a minute or two. Well, with so many media timeouts, and then we have another 4 timeouts. Well, they can get a break, during one of those
Sure.
medias. So Lawrence played He played the whole game, and he played really well. So that he kind of kept us grounded and kept everyone focused.
Were you surprised to see that only 5 guys scored and you still put up 82 points?
I wasn't at all. It goes back to, well, one, we shortened the lineup.
Mm-hmm.
That's traditionally what a Coach Brown road win will look like,
Mm-hmm.
especially in conference. Um, we, we 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 usually shorten up the lineup a little bit on the road when we're in conference. We want to get every single conference game. That's one of our team goals. We want to win them all. So no, the fact that we shortened the lineup and we usually play 11 or 12. I think we may have played 8 or 9. No, it doesn't. It didn't surprise me or bother me at all. We got shots from the folks that we want shooting the ball in the spots that we want them shooting it. So, we were okay with that.
All right, the guys I want to highlight this week: Edwin Cole, CAC Player of the Week, 25 and 12 against Mary Washington, matching a career high, 22 against St. Mary's. What is he really benefiting from getting a little bit more time on the perimeter with Coleman back, and how is he balancing being able to play inside and outside?
He is, and he's it's tough. It's a tough transition, as I sit here and speak about it and think about it. It's a really tough transition. You're talking about a kid who's played center his whole life. Center, not even power forward. He had 1 year power forward when Zach was here. But he played center his whole life, and now we're looking to, get him to transition to the wing. And he worked. He put in some work this summer. He put in a lot of work this summer, a lot of work in the preseason to transition. So when Zach got hurt right before the season started, you know, it kind of hurt moving Edwin back to the 4 or back to the 5 position because he was already anxious to play on the wing on the perimeter. He's played on the perimeter for 2 months and 2 or 3 months. He shot in all these jump shots. He put the ball on the floor, did all these guard drills, and then 3 days before the first game, we tell him,
Hey, we need you
to go back in and
Uh-huh.
and play center. So he was a little agitated, antsy to get back on the wing. He couldn't wait. Zach coming back benefited him more than anyone else. Because now we're able to push him back to the position that we were trying to transition him to the 3. So I think that definitely putting him on the wing frees him up. And Ed could play the 2, the 3, the 4, or the 5, and he's learned all positions, which is really good, really cool for us. So when there's a mismatch or a team's playing as some kind of exotic defenses like St. Mary's did this weekend, we can make the minor adjustments on the fly and not have to change personnel.
To go back to that, you mentioned before a halftime adjustment at St. Mary's. What did St. Mary's try to do, and what made you adjust?
Um, yeah, I can't disclose that because we played them again.
Sure,
But
it was worth a shot on my end. But we'll talk later.
Okay, yeah, but that's something that we can't disclose because we'll play them again. And Chris, Coach Harney, he does a great job of mixing things up offensively, mixing up defenses, especially defensively. And in fact, he had a really good full court defense that he used to like to run maybe 8 to 10 years ago. And I've kind of taken a page out of his book and I've implemented that into my defensive philosophy. And they don't quite do it anymore. I'm not sure if they have the players or if they don't have trust in their players to quite do that anymore. But Chris does some exotic things, man, and you sometimes it's too late when you figure it out, and once you figure it out, you're down 20. So you gotta watch Coach Harney because he's a genius. He's a genius when it comes to game day coaching and making adjustments and taking your best players away and things like that. So if you're not if you're not looking, if you're just too late, you're already down 15, 20. That rabid crowd base is already into the game, and it's a wrap before halftime. So we could talk off wax about some of the things they
we'll do
did
that.
and some of the adjustments we had to make.
Finally, Lawrence Pettis, all 40 minutes, 22 points And I did some math here. I broke out the calculator. This time last year, he had played 400 minutes by this first week in January. This year, he's played 250. How do you think that'll work out for you in the end, kind of decreasing his workload early in the season so that he can really go after it in this home stretch, because he has been outstanding in this past week?
Well, we knew we couldn't play Lawrence 35 minutes a game this year.
For the whole season.
Yeah, that's not going to work, especially the way we want to play. There's a certain amount of toughness that comes along with that point guard position. And, Lawrence have the toughness that it takes. We'd love for him to harness some of that, and turn it into a little smarter play. But, Lawrence is a floor general. Lawrence has been, playing at a high level ever since he was 11, 12 years old. So he knows what to do. We really like when he comes out aggressive. Make or miss, we love when Lawrence comes out aggressive, because when he's aggressive, everyone else follows. He's our leader. There's no two ways around it. When he's aggressive, we're aggressive. When he loses his mind, we lose our mind. Just like most other good teams, once you're a leader, or once you're who you guys look at as a leader, once they start to lose their mind or go astray, that's what everyone else going to do. They're going to follow. But Lawrence has been great. He came back hungry, off break. Had a huge game. I think he had 4 or 5 threes. He had 22 points. Had quite a few assists. He's a pure point guard, but he could score the ball. And
yes.
And that's what we want him to do. We'd really like him to come out aggressive and take over games early. Put his imprint on the game early. But yeah, him playing 37 minutes a game. That's not conducive to how we want to play. The way we want to play, there's no way his body would have held up playing those kind of minutes.
It's been good to see. It's been fun to follow him, and nice to kind of hold him for this stretch run here in conference play. Finally, this week, only 2 teams are left at 2-0 in the CAC, Frostburg and Salisbury. That means this conference looks to be really competitive once again. At Southern Virginia on Wednesday, which was a split last year, and then hosting CNU on Saturday. Coach, I know you're just looking at SVU right now. What are you looking at in terms of this matchup and this trip midweek to Southern Virginia?
Well, we're looking to we're looking to do a lot of the same things we did this weekend when we went to St. Mary's. We want to play solid. We want to come out to a fast start. Defensively, holding them to one shot. I mean, and we, thus far this year, if I'm not mistaken, we've come out and taken the lead on every single team we've played. And I know that's not going to always happen, and I'm okay with that. Mm-hmm. But the fact that I like how we're coming out, and we're coming after teams, from the tip. Now, if we can do that at Southern Virginia and then maintain our discipline like we did at St. Mary's, I think we'll be able to take care of business. Southern Virginia does quite a bit on offense, and we've talked to our guys about it, and we'll drill it more tomorrow during the day before the game. But I think if we come out with our heads on right, I think we'll be fine.
Well, we're looking forward to having you back here next Sunday, seeing you, always a fun one, or next Saturday, and we'll have that on the Bobcat Sports Network. Sean Brown, thank you. 2-0 week for men's basketball. Conference play started off right. Thank you for joining me on the Bobcast.
Thanks for having me.
Next in the Bobcast, we have women's basketball, and the Bobcats keep on rolling. A 2-0 start to CAC play with wins over Mary Washington and St. Mary's. Women's hoops, 10-2 overall. Winners of 6 in a row, best start in almost a decade. Best start since 2009-2010. I'm here with Coach Carrie Saunders. Coach, we'll start with Mary Washington. FSU has not beaten UMW since November 03. Coming out of non-conference play with the record your team had, what kind of a boost is it to get a win of that caliber right away at the beginning of the conference season to prove to the league and your team itself that this team can be really, really good?
It's great. We talked about that all the time of, especially before that game, we said, this is our non-conference record, but it doesn't matter anymore. It's a clean slate for everyone. You're going into CAC play, and everyone's out to get everyone. And I said, if we can come in and make this statement this first game, everyone's going to start looking at us. And that's exactly what we did. And I was very, very pleased with our preparation for that game and our carryover into that game from our scouting report, like I said, during the game, after the game. But yeah, I mean, we are a very good team. We've got a lot of depth. We've got a lot of people to throw out on the court. And I preach every single game is a different kid that's stepping up for us. And that's what makes it special. But that win was a big win for us. But we can't just settle on one big win. We've got to keep it going.
When we talked about the other really big win this season at Catholic earlier in the year, you also really mentioned preparation and scouting and attention to detail. What is this team's personality in terms of taking care of that kind of stuff, and what's the process been like for this team in that arena and getting ready to play? And so far, so good.
I think a lot of it for them is trusting your coaching staff that we're going to put together something that is going to make us successful. And I think when we've kind of gotten in this rhythm of presenting the scout, and it's not like we're coming up with these crazy ideas, these crazy scouts for different teams, but then we watch film and we say, do you see what we're seeing? Do you see how our defense, and it's all written around defense. Very rarely are we putting in something offensively to kind of counteract their defense. It's all about our preparation for our defense. And, we sit and film and we say, do you see it? Where would we be? And for them to be able to answer the questions of like, well, we would be over here versus, over there. And that preparation, I think for them to visually see it and like get excited that, oh, wow, like their sets aren't going to work against our defense if we play good defense. That's kind of been an exciting process this year. And, it's a testament to them. They actually have to sit down and retain the information and go out and execute it. We can present it to them, but they've done a really good job so far this year of buying into what we are on the defensive side of the floor.
As far as executing against Mary Washington, a season-low 40 points for the Eagles on 29.5% shooting, 1 for 12 for 3. If it's not for 16 more free throw attempts for the Eagles, the game may have been even more lopsided. What would you say about the execution against Mary Washington?
Yeah, we executed everything defensively. Now, we went on a scoring drought for like 6 minutes or something crazy like that in the third quarter, and I kept telling them at halftime, like, it's fine. Just keep playing defense. If we keep playing defense, you're good to go. They weren't shooting the ball extremely well that night, but I thought we were also contesting their shooters. We were forcing kind of the rhythm of their offense to kind of get off balance. And so that's a huge testament to our team and our defense. We preach defense from the very beginning. And I think we play some of the best defense in the conference. And that's something that we really pride ourselves in. If you can get a whole team to pride themselves on defense, I think you've got something pretty special.
Mary Washington clawed back into the game. It's 38-35 with 6:38 left in the fourth. We talked about this a little bit after the game. What did you make of your team's mental toughness and then the response? Some big shot makes by Diggs and Kelly, some threes to push that lead back up. What did you make of the response from your team?
Yeah, I always say, good teams are going to go on a run. You can never settle, and Mary Washington is a very, very good team. That they weren't going to go out without, a pretty good fight, and no one in the CAC is going to do that. So we just have to stay true to ourselves, and the game's not over until the game's over. And so as long as we stay composed and do what we still need to do, and having two shooters like that out on the floor with Diggs and Kelly is quite a threat, as well as our interior presence, and we've just got threats from everywhere. So we just stayed within ourselves and took what was available. You don't stop playing, and that's one of the things that I preach to them, especially shooters like that. Like if you feel it, shoot it. We don't want to slow down our momentum offensively just because, clock's on our side. There's a time and a place for that, obviously, but I trust our guards and I trust our players out on the floor to make the best decisions for the team. And that's exactly what they did and hit huge shots down the stretch. And as soon as those two went in, it was kind of like wind went out of their sails. So really proud of that win.
Big win for Frostburg, first win over UMW since 2003. I want to shift to St. Mary's on Saturday. 60-55 the win for the Bobcats. Frostburg had to come back from a 6-point deficit in the fourth quarter. As big of a win as UMW was, what did Saturday's game serve as kind of a reminder that whoever is on this schedule, and the CAC is down to 14 games rather than 18 last year, whoever's on the schedule is going to really go at your team, and was your team reminded of that on Saturday?
Yeah, I think 100%. The first thing I said after the game is let's have a real talk real quick. And all of my team was like, yeah, let's do that. Because they know that they didn't play well enough, or as well as we should have. Our motto before this game, our quote before the game was something about, proving the doubters wrong and making sure that Frostburg isn't a fluke. Because right now it's like, oh, well, they beat Mary Wash, but we'll see how it's early. Did they just have a good night? And that was kind of what I talked about, is now roles have reversed in this program. Like, we used to be that team that was like, we have nothing to lose, let's go to get them. Mm-hmm. And as this program has evolved, the roles have reversed. So it's also a learning experience of, remember how we were the team that was out to get everyone else. Well, now those teams are out to get us. You have to be able to still play and still dominate to prove why. My assistant coach, Coach Huntsman, is like, why not Frostburg? Why not us? Why can't we be the ones that everyone's after? And so it's a learning experience for us too, being that team that now everyone's kind of taking more seriously. And so you've got to learn from it, and you've got to still show up and play. And, the best part about Saturday is, yes, we didn't play well, but we won. Mm-hmm. And for us to be able to pull out a win with us having 15 turnovers in one half of basketball and 27 turnovers total, and people not playing well. But, my starters were the ones that were in at the end of the game, and they pulled it out. Megan and Yoder did not have great games leading up to that fourth quarter, towards the end of the fourth quarter, really. And Megan hit a big three, and Yoder hit some big free throws. And that's what it's all about, is not hanging your head and getting back into the game and helping your team no matter what it is. And if that was Yoder's only points for the night from the free throw line, they came at a really good time. So that's all that matters.
I want to jump right to the fourth quarter. St. Mary's scores the first two baskets of the quarter. The lead is the largest it's been for the Seahawks at 6 points. Your team calls a timeout, a 13-4 run for Frostburg over the next 7.5 minutes to really change the game in the fourth quarter. What changed for your team, or what really was the message in that timeout?
The message still was it's play us. Like, we're letting everything else that's happening in this game dictate the game. There's still a very, very long time. Don't panic. We're only down by 6. We're not down by 20. Don't panic. We have sets. We have things that are working. Let's go back to that. So as a coaching staff, as a team, we went to a couple sets that we felt like were working for us. And they went out and they executed, and they got some buckets. The other part of it was, we're not defending the way that we usually defend. So let's go back to our principles. Let's talk. Was I upset that, we were in this situation? Yes, but you have to take it, and you have to get your kids on the same page and make sure that they don't give up. And it was a 6-point game with a long time to go.
Yeah, there's still 7.5, 8 minutes.
And so, I didn't panic. They didn't panic. Just play basketball, and you'll come out victorious, which is what we did. So, it was a good timeout. It was a good just like reset. Don't panic. Go play basketball.
And the Bobcats came away with a win. Amanda Emery, a career-high 18 points, 8 of them coming from the free throw line, 12 rebounds, 4 blocks. If she's not the CAC Player of the Week after leading the Bobcats in scoring in both games in a week, I don't know who is. What have we seen from her? You've used the phrase offensive force for Amanda Emery. Here she comes in CAC play. She's not going to surprise anyone, and she's still got hers in both games last week. What can you say about what she's been able to do?
She's been great. I also sometimes feel like I don't give her as much credit as she deserves, because I've been pushing her for so long to become this. So I'm kind of like, finally. Yeah. But she has been unbelievable for us, and sometimes I don't give her that credit. I think after the Mary Wash game, I went up to her after the game, and I'm like, you did great. I don't know if I've told you this, but like, you're doing great. And it kind of, she's one of those players that I've started to expect this from her. And maybe not the 18 points, but the way that she's working and that girl hardly gets a break during the game. I don't think I subbed her out.
Yeah, all 40
Yeah.
against St. Mary's.
Yeah. And she has just been doing such a good job. And she's a force. I mean, she's strong. And I harp on her for finishing around the rim, but she's a player that can take that criticism and still keep playing. And that's what I love about her, is having that post player that's able to. She has a great knowledge for the game, so she knows when we get on her, when her teammates get on her, like, she knows what's up, and she's going to keep working hard for her team. There's no quit in that girl. And I agree that she should be CAC Player of the Week.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens, but she has come alive this junior year for her, and a testament to that is her work in the off season too. So very, very proud of her.
This kind of goes all the way back to last year and maybe even before that. This team is so willing to pass the ball inside, and it seems like they're always looking for that. Is that something that still is worked on every single day?
Yes. We do post entry every single day. So we progress to get the ball inside, they're going to score, and then once all the post players have gone through, then we go get the ball inside, guards relocate, it goes live after that. Because for us to have a force inside and then we have two unbelievable shooters on the outside, there's no real way to defend us if we've got both of those working. So yeah, it's I think the guards now realize that if the ball keeps going inside, then it's going to free them up, on the outside as well. So, yep, work on it every single day.
You can tell. You
Yes.
can really tell.
Yeah.
One more thing from the St. Mary's game. Jasmine Torrado-Viscala returned the lineup for extended minutes for the first time really since November. 8 assists. She scored once as well. What did you like from her on Saturday?
Yeah, she finally got back into the groove. She had a pretty bad injury before break, and, she hadn't played basketball in probably a month. So I was expecting her to play today. I was kind of working her back in, getting her legs under her in every single practice. And so she came up big for us today, or on Saturday. She distributed the ball. She brought it like an energy to the court. It's not like she was scoring a ton, but she was doing so much other stuff to help us. And her passes in the first quarter, she didn't force anything. She just kind of took what the defense was giving her as far as passes into Amanda and Sid and our post players. And she brought that, she's, I think, one of our better defenders on our roster. And when she's distributing the ball and playing good defense, that's what we need from her. And she did exactly that and gave us a real spark that we needed, especially with some of our other guards not playing well. I'm really proud that she kind of stepped up for us in that game.
Yeah, 8 assists on Saturday. CAC play coming up this week. It is a doozy of a week. At Southern Virginia, SVU is also undefeated in conference, and then home for CNU, who is the team to beat in this conference. SVU, a big win over York head-to-head this past Saturday. Bobcats and Knights split last year with SVU winning by 20 here and Frostburg gutting out a road win last year to get into the CAC tournament. Really, how does Frostburg really deal with SVU size, or just Katie Garish, who's one of the top players in this conference?
Yeah, we've got to come to play. SVU, I think, is also a team to beat. I think there's a ton of teams in this. I mean, yeah, we have a really tough week, but we've got to get past Southern Virginia, who is a very, very good team this year, to get to Saturday. So right now our focus is on Southern Virginia, but Katie Garish is a really, really great post player, finishes with both hands. So we've obviously got to find a way to shut her down, but that's not their only player. They've got some other threats that can go off. They had 3 kids in double figures, on Saturday. So we've got to really hone in. I love our defense when we're playing, really good defense. So I don't think it's going to be something way out of the ordinary that we have to do, but we also need to rely on our bench. I think our bench is going to be huge for this game. We've got to get, with Amanda and Sid, playing the minutes that they are, and now I'm going to expect them to pound on Katie Garish for 40 minutes. We've got to be able to send Anna and Jada and other post players in there to give them some relief, because they can't do it all on their own. And hopefully we can get her into a little bit of foul trouble with how physical Amanda plays. But it's gonna be a test. It's a long trip for us, a long bus trip. going to Southern Virginia and playing. It's a tough environment to play in, and so we've got to get ready. And the preparation starts today. The coaching staff was watching film on the bus ride back, from St. Mary's. We're definitely not taking anything lightly. So we've got to prepare, and we'll be ready.
Well, we're fired up. SVU, FSU, both 2-0 in CAC play. The big one seeing you Saturday. We'll have it here on the Bobcat Sports Network. Coach Saunders, another good week. Thank you for joining me once again.
Thank you.